The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2 felt like an entirely different genre than the show's previous installment, and it's important that this continues into Season 3. The Prime Video series used its first season to depict its version of what the Second Age of Middle-earth looked like before Sauron's return, but Season 2 provided a look at the Dark Lord's steady ascent. Now, going into Rings of Power Season 3, Sauron is only growing stronger, which means things in this fantasy world must look even more sinister. Still, there should always be a key exception in The Lord of the Rings. We heard repeatedly throughout the central Lord of the Rings series just how terrible the Dark Lord Sauron was at full power. However, since the villain had lost his one ring during Frodo's time, we never really saw this on screen. Rings of Power has taken on the task of showing audiences the cunning and seductive Dark Lord in the flesh, and Season 2 did an exceptional job of this. As a result, this most recent installment of the Prime Video series felt more like a psychological thriller than other Lord of the Rings adaptations, or even Season 1. Rings of Power Season 3 must feel even more like a dark psychological thriller. This is Sauron's Middle-earth. Rings of Power Season 2 felt very different from past Lord of the Rings adaptations, and that's precisely how it should be. As a prequel, it's important that the TV show add further context to the story we know and love. In this case, we have to fully understand why Sauron couldn't be allowed to return to power during the Third Age. To really get this across, Rings of Power Season 2 leaned into the unique way that Sauron tortured Celebrimbor. We watched the villain subtly plant himself in Celebrimbor's mind, causing the elf to tear himself apart as he was driven to madness. Of course, Sauron is only just getting started going into Rings of Power Season 3. Now that he has left Eregion in destruction, he will likely move on to Numenor, where it will be his task to worm his way into the minds of Pharazôn and the men who will become the Nazgul. If anything, the upcoming episodes should feel even more like a psychological thriller, as these beings are slowly transformed into agents of Sauron. Moreover, the Dark Lord himself should begin to lose his mind as he pours his essence and evil into the One Ring. Overall, Rings of Power Season 3 must really be the tipping point regarding Middle-earth's general state. As Sauron's influence grows, the suffering and torment of the people will as well. This is what Frodo saved Middle-earth from, and it's critical that this be resoundingly evident as this next installment comes to a close. However, this is still the Lord of the Rings. No matter how dark things get, there has to be a sliver of light and hope hidden within. Rings of Power can use Nori and the pre-hobbits to break up the darkness and tension. Nori and the pre-hobbits represent the hope of the future. Mark Ella Cavenagh as Nori crying while saying goodbye to the stranger in The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2 finale. Although it's crucial that things become darker and more desperate as Sauron's power grows in Rings of Power, it's equally important that the series reminds audiences that there is hope. Men and elves are destined to come together and put a temporary stop to the Dark Lord. What's more, the smallest of Middle-earth's beings will eventually step forward and end Sauron's dark reign forever. Though this is a long way off from happening, Rings of Power Season 3 must balance out the dark torment with those subtle signs of hope that serve as a significant theme within the Lord of the Rings franchise. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings is all about hope in the face of darkness. Without hope, Frodo's mission would never have been successful, and the Dark Lord would have won out long before. Rings of Power Season 3 must show Middle-earth as we've never seen it before on screen, dark, tormented, and nearly hopeless. However, the ancestors of those who will eventually bring about Sauron's downfall can stand as a reminder of the beauty that is to come. Naturally, this will fall to Nori, the Harfoots, and the Stores.